For as long as we've been writing software, there's been this fundamental trade-off, a choice that developers have had to make again and again. Do you want raw, unadulterated speed, or do you want safety and reliability? Well, today we're going to talk about the programming language that's trying to prove you can finally have it all.
Yeah, think about it. The big question has always been, can you get the bare metal performance of a systems language without all the dangerous pitfalls? And can you get the safety and comfort of a high-level language without paying for it with slower performance? It's a dilemma that has shaped pretty much all the tech we use every day.
And to really get a feel for this, you gotta look at the two major camps that have dominated programming for so long. It's really a story about a massive trade-off between having total control versus having a total safety net.
And here it is, the classic dilemma laid bare. Over on one side, you've got a beast like C++. It gives you incredible performance because you're the one in charge of managing every bit of memory. But, and it's a big but, that power is risky. It is so easy to make a tiny mistake that leads to a massive crash or a security hole. Then on the other side, you've got something like Python. Super friendly, super safe, because this thing called a garbage collector is always cleaning up your memory for you. The catch? That convenience costs you performance, making it a non-starter for things that need to be ridiculously fast, like a game engine. And this is exactly where Rust comes into the picture. Rust wasn't just some new idea for a language. It was born at Mozilla with a very real, very difficult job to help build a new web browser engine that had to be both incredibly fast and completely secure. It was literally created to solve this very dilemma.
So what's the magic here? How does Rust actually manage to pull this off? Well, it's all built on three core promises that, when you put them together, aim to give you the best of both of those worlds we just talked about.
Yup, just 3. And these promises are the key to absolutely everything. First up, performance. Rust compiles straight to machine code. There's no garbage collector slowing things down, putting it right up there in the same league as C++. Second, reliability. Now this is the real game changer. Rust's compiler literally guarantees that your code is memory safe before it even runs. It can even prevent certain kinds of bugs in concurrent code. And third, productivity. Rust comes with amazing tools right out of the box and a compiler that's famous for being, get this, helpful. This quote just nails it. The whole philosophy is about shifting bug hunting away from that stressful, oh no, it crashed in production phase, and moving it way, way earlier to when you're writing the code. Entire classes of bugs, some of the most dangerous ones out there, are just gone, eliminated by the compiler.
Okay, but that sounds almost too good to be true, right? How can a compiler possibly guarantee that? What's the secret? Well, it all boils down to this one totally unique concept that is the absolute heart of the language.
It's called ownership. And here's the best way to think about it. In Rust, every single piece of data has one and only one variable that owns it. That's it, one owner at a time. And the moment that owner variable is no longer needed, say at the end of a function, the data it owns is automatically cleaned up. No manual memory fiddling, no garbage collector. Just simple, predictable rules. And a really important part of this whole ownership thing is what's called a move. When you assign data from one variable to another, you're not copying it, you're moving the ownership. The original variable is now empty, it's considered invalid. And this simple rule automatically prevents a whole class of nasty bugs. And this little code snippet shows it perfectly. We create a string, and S1 owns it. Simple enough. But on that next line, we assign S1 to S2. In Rust, that's a move. Ownership has been transferred to S2. And from that point on, S1 is no longer valid. If you try to use it, the compiler will just stop you with an error. It's that simple, and it's all checked before your code can even become a program. All right, I know what you're thinking. That sounds kind of rigid. If you're constantly giving away ownership every time you pass data to a function, how do you get anything done? That sounds like it would be a huge pain. Well, Rust has a really elegant solution for this. It's called borrowing. Instead of giving a function full ownership of your data, you can just lend it. You create something called a reference, which lets other parts of your code use the data temporarily without actually taking it over for good. Now, borrowing itself is controlled by two beautifully simple rules. Rule 1, you can have as many readers as you want. These are references that can look at the data but can't change it. Or, Rule 2, you can have exactly one writer, a reference that can change the data.
You can have many readers or one writer, but never both at the same time. The compiler enforces this, and that one idea single-handedly wipes out data races, which are some of the hardest bugs to solve in programming. You know, once you get the hang of these rules, your whole relationship with a compiler changes. It stops feeling like this annoying gatekeeper that's always yelling at you for making mistakes. Instead, it starts to feel like a partner, like a helpful mentor that's actively working with you, guiding you to write code that's not just safe, but also fast and correct.
And that helpful partnership vibe isn't just in the compiler. It's baked right into the entire Rust ecosystem. And the absolute heart of that is a tool called Cargo. Cargo it's just your best friend. It's the project manager and build tool all in one. It handles pretty much everything with a few simple commands. Want to start a new project? Cargo new. Need to compile your code? Cargo build. Run it? Cargo run. Run your tests? Cargo test. It's this simple, standardized workflow that just works every single time. And probably the best part is that Cargo makes it ridiculously easy to pull in libraries and code from the community. You find a library you need on crates.io, that's Rust's official package registry, add one line to a file, and Cargo handles all the downloading and compiling for you. It's seamless.
Okay, so if you're sitting there thinking, all right, I've got to try this, where do you even begin? Well, the great news is the Rust community has built some of the best learning materials I've ever seen for any language, period.
The number one place to start is the official guide, which everyone just calls the book. It's fantastic. If you want to learn by doing, check out Rustlings. It gives you a bunch of small, broken programs, and your job is to fix them, which is a brilliant way to learn. And for a quick reference, Rust by example is perfect.
And once you have the basics down, you've just got to build something. Command line tools are a fantastic place to start, or maybe try building a simple little web API. You could even have some fun and recreate a classic game like Snake or Pong. The point is to just start coding and make something that's interesting to you.
And look, you can feel really confident that putting your time into learning Rust is a solid investment. This is not some flash-in-the-pan experimental thing. We're talking about a mature, stable technology that's used in production at huge companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. It's all managed by the nonprofit Rust Foundation, which is dedicated to making sure the language has a healthy, stable future. So that really brings us back to the big picture. Rust is offering a fundamentally different way to build high-performance software. It's moving the focus from finding bugs at runtime to preventing them at compile time. It's a path to building things that are fast and correct by design, which leads to the final question. Is this the future? Is a compiler that acts as your safety net the real future of systems programming? That's a powerful idea to think about.